Hello again in YouTube land. I'm going into a passage that we read from on Sunday, John chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. Like I said on Sunday, there is so much theology in this passage here that really I couldn't cover it very well in one sermon. So what I'm doing now is breaking down some of the parts, and I just wanted to give a little snippets here and there about some of the passages, one of which I'm going to share right now. In John 9, verses 1 through 7, it says, as Jesus walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with the saliva and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. Then he went and washed and came back, able to see. So I am reading from the manse, the parsonage, in a small room we're using as an office. I'm not at the church tonight. So I want to go through this step by step a little bit on this passage, which is interesting to me. First of all, Jesus is walking along with his disciples, and they see a man sitting there. He's perhaps begging, but we don't really know. John doesn't say that. It says that he sees a man blind from birth. Now, I don't think Jesus knew he was blind from birth just sitting there. We learn that later on in the story. But his disciples ask him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? That's because to their way of understanding, based on their reading of the Old Testament, remember at the time that this story was written, that was the only Bible they had. The Gospels hadn't been written yet. And so from their understanding of the Old Testament, they would conclude the man must be a sinner, or his parents, because the sins of the parents are passed on, and then we suffer for the sins of our parents. And this was the traditional view of the problem of evil. In other words, we suffer because we've done something wrong. That makes it not unjust for us to receive punishment. For if God is a just God, then if we do something wrong, then God causes something evil to happen to us, and that's punishment. And we see that a lot in the Old Testament. But then we see cases like the story of Job, where Job is a righteous man, and he's made to suffer anyway. And yet, it seems like there was no reason for it. The reason was to test Job. That's the only reason that was given. So the disciples are asking Jesus, why is this man blind? Is he being tested? Is he a sinner? Can you tell us? And Jesus says, this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. That's an odd statement. First of all, it says that Jesus didn't call him a sinner. Jesus says, no, you're not suffering because you did something wrong. There are some people that believe that if you're suffering, you must have done something wrong. And Jesus here is clearly refuting that, saying he didn't do anything to deserve this. So what else does he say? He says, I am the light of the world. In a dark world, I am the light. I'm the one that can do something about the darkness this man is facing. John's making a theological statement here. He's saying that we need to look to Christ. Now, whether Jesus said it exactly like that or not, who knows? They didn't have a stenographer on hand back then, but John is making a theological statement, and he's putting it into this story so that we see Christ in a certain way, as being able to shed spiritual light to those who are blind and living in darkness. So it's interesting that when Jesus says that he was born blind so that God's work might be revealed in him. God's work might be revealed in him. Consider, he says this before he makes him able to see. Like I said in the sermon, the man does not ask for forgiveness, nor does he even ask to be made to be able to see. Jesus chooses to make him able to see. It's clearly a miracle story, one of 7 in John's gospel. And in this story, the man is just sitting there and Jesus heals him. But he says that while he was sitting there, God's work might be revealed in him. I want to challenge you to think about how we think about people with disabilities who are blind or unable to walk or unable to hear or have mobility issues or what have you. Is God's work able to be revealed in them? Yes. Yes, it is. And not without healing them, not with some supernatural thing. Jesus said that just as the man was sitting there, that God was able to be revealed in him just the way he was. He didn't have to be made able to see for God's work to be revealed in him. I think that's important for us to realize that no matter who we are, how we are, whatever our limitations are, God's work can be revealed in us. And we're made that way in order that God's work be revealed in us, just the way we are. I think that's pretty amazing, actually, that however messed up you might think you are, or however unfair you might think life might have treated you, God's work can be revealed in you, just the way you are. Then he goes on and he heals this man. He takes the time to do something to make him able to see. Now, in another sermonette, I'm going to talk about spiritual blindness and light. But I just want to talk here briefly about the fact is this man was made able to see because John wanted to show that Jesus had power to heal. And so the man is made able to see, and he becomes a follower of Jesus. When John says, we must do the work of him who sent me, night is coming when no one can work. He's saying something about the world we live in and the darkness, the spiritual darkness that many of us feel is all around us. The uncaring attitudes, the self-centeredness of most people, it seems at times, comes from a lack of spiritual vision, as I said Sunday. And Jesus is able to heal that. So all of these are part of this story here. What's not part of the story is the fact that Jesus only heals this one man. I'm sure there were other blind people living in Israel at the time that Jesus healed this man. Jesus didn't go around the countryside looking for blind people to heal. He didn't heal everybody. He healed this one person, which means there's other people he didn't heal. Either he didn't get around to them or he chose to go another way. We don't know why God chooses to heal some and not heal others. There's a dangerous theology out there that says whatever we believe will come to pass. So if we believe hard enough, we're going to be fixed of whatever problem we're facing. If it's a physical illness, God will take it away. If it's a financial burden, God will take it away. I don't think that's correct. I think it's important to say that God might do that, and God is clearly able to do that. but it doesn't happen all the time. It's not like magic. Rather, we trust God whatever the situation, whether we're healed or not, whether we're made well or not, we still believe in a loving God. Because even if God does not make us healed, we're still able to reveal the works of God right as we are. I'm incredibly encouraged by the biography of Helen Keller, who was struck down with blindness and deafness, and the insights that she gained. Yes, she couldn't see, but she gained so much wisdom and so much understanding, and her heart was so big with compassion that few people who can see matched her ability to see with her heart. And so I think that this story speaks a little bit about God and Christ bringing light to the world, but it also speaks to the fact that that light is in us, whether we're made able to see miraculously or not, it's still inside. So I hope you enjoyed this little sermonette. I will have another one later this week, and we will see you again, hopefully, on Sunday.